The Iran nuclear deal looks like it's going to be brought back, which is a very good move in the right direction from the Biden administration and European countries who are also a part of this negotiation. So to give you a quick summary, and then we'll dive into the specifics of this current moment, President Barack Obama, when he was in office, helped to negotiate, along with European countries, a deal with Iran that laid out, hey, we will lift sanctions on you, allow more money to flow into your country by doing so if you'll stop any production or development of nuclear weapons, which, of course, the Iranian government is a government that we don't want to have nuclear weapons, and they could do a lot of threatening actions with that. And so the idea of preventing them from having it or having them in a peaceful manner, I was very for. Something I give President Barack Obama a lot of credit for. And then President Trump got into office and pulled out of the Iran nuclear deal, which was a step in the wrong direction, in my opinion, because again, peacefully, effectively preventing a government from getting and developing nuclear weapons, such as the Iranian government, I think is a really good move. And not only did it say, okay, you have to agree to that in theory, you also had to agree to inspectors coming in from agencies from the United States and the European Union, and actually inspecting your facilities and inspecting to make sure you aren't developing nuclear weapons. And all the times they did that throughout the process of this being a deal that was struck, and all the time after that, Iran had followed their side of the bargain, that was laid out in that deal. And so then whenever President Trump pulled out, of course, it kind of proved a lot of the people in Iran who were against that deal correct, saying the United States is never going to uphold this, and you shouldn't trust the United States, which is a huge bummer. And it made me scared that they weren't going to want to get back into an agreement like that with the United States and Europe once a different president got into power. But it looks like there's some hope for it to happen once again, which is good. Let's read a little bit about that from Newsweek. Iran has reportedly dropped some of the demands regarding a potential nuclear deal and has suggested terms that President Joe Biden, quote, can accept. The United States intends to soon respond to a draft agreement proposed by the European Union that would see the 2015 nuclear deal with Iran brought back, Reuters reported. This deal was signed by former President Barack Obama and was subsequently abandoned by President Donald Trump. An official that spoke to Reuters on the condition of anonymity due to the sensitivity of the matter said Iran has dropped some of its key demands. This included the country's insistence that international inspectors close some probes of its atomic program. So they've dropped that, which is good because we can't just get them to agree to it. We need a good, effective process to go in and make sure they're upholding it. Otherwise, it's largely without purpose. So that's super good. It looks like we're getting closer to a deal. For a while, as this laid out, Iran was kind of making demands that would take out some of the purpose of even making that deal and would make it hard for us to see the benefit of it. But now they've dropped some of those according to this reporting, and Joe Biden can accept those terms. He hasn't officially yet, but it looks like something he would be willing to do. But one of the things putting this up in the air a little bit is there was recently an airstrike in Syria ordered by President Joe Biden that Iran's not happy with and could jeopardize a little bit of the negotiations that are going on. So reading again from Newsweek, amid a critical moment for the effort to restore a nuclear deal, Iran has accused the United States of a terrorist attack in Syria after President Joe Biden ordered an airstrike on positions said to be linked in Tehran's elite Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Excuse me, just give me 1 second. Computer is spazzing out on me. Okay. U.S. Central Command Communications Director, Army Colonel, wow, that is a title and a half, Joe Buccino, issued a statement late Tuesday announcing that Biden had directed the U.S. military to conduct precision airstrikes in Syria's in one of their eastern provinces. The president gave the direction for these strikes pursuant to his Article 2 authority to protect and defend U.S. personnel by disrupting and deterring attacks by Iran-backed groups. Buccino added, the United States does not see conflict, but will continue to take necessary measures to protect and defend our people. So, of course, the Iranian government, to give you a summary on the kind of the rest of that, pushed back on the claim that this was something necessary to fight back against particular groups for the safety of the United States, and it was not happy with it. And so That's not great, because in a time as delicate as this one, where you're trying to just perfectly manufacture a moment that will be perfect so that you can strike this deal with a government that otherwise is not so happy to be dealing with us, and we're not so happy to be dealing with them either, even though we want to strike this deal, you're kind of walking on, eggshells. And so us doing that strike and them being angry about it is a little bit bad for these negotiations. One more detail about this, Israel's prime minister spoke out against Joe Biden doing this, which of course there is a huge allyship between the United States and Israel. So this is another little element. Is this going to make any difference in Joe Biden's calculations? I don't know. So reading from ABC News, Israel's prime minister urged President Joe Biden and Western powers to call off an emerging nuclear deal with Iran, saying that negotiators are letting Tehran manipulate the talks and that an agreement would reward Israel's enemies. Okay. Of course, I disagree with him on that. I get why it's tough. It's the same thing as sometimes when we deal with Saudi Arabia, and I think we could be more tough on them for sure, and we should be more tough on them, but it's hard to balance negotiations that would benefit us, but also benefit them, and having kind of a moral stand against bad things that government's doing. But you understand, on a global stage, you're going to have to work with pretty unsavory leaders and pretty unsavory governments just to achieve peace or just to make progress in certain areas. So there's definitely a line. At some point, you have to take a strong moral stance against the government. And in certain areas, you don't want to kind of prop them up and help continue whatever the bad things that they're doing. But if you can set up a situation where the world is safer, then maybe negotiating with them and setting up a situation where they get more cash flow because you lift sanctions is the right option. And I think in the case of Iran, it is the correct option. So credit to Joe Biden. Hopefully the airstrike and Israel speaking out about this does not stand in the way. And hopefully we'll see the Iran nuclear deal be put back into place.